Hey, what's up? It's Bon, and today I just wanted to do a quick video to talk about Fallout, Starfield, and kind of how I feel about the future of Bethesda. Before I get into that, please consider subscribing to the channel if you like any of these things I'm talking about, or just gaming in general. If you like the video, please hit the like button. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or you just want to say hello, you can do that down in the comments. All of those things help this channel get noticed and more people checking out the videos and subscribing to the channel. If you really want to support, you can become a channel member. Here on YouTube, you will get some videos early like this one, as well as the podcast and some members only posts and other things that I try to do for the people who join up. So do that if you want, or just watch the videos. It's all good either way. Okay, so actually getting into the subject of the video, I'll try not to go on too long. I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4 over the last week or so because I am basic. And of course, I watched the Fallout Amazon Prime series, and it was insanely good. It was extremely, extremely good. And like, your first impression, I think there's 8 episodes. The first 2 or 3 episodes are solid, but you could definitely see maybe it could like fall apart, and then it doesn't, and it actually just gets better. It expands. If you care about the lore of Fallout, which I do, and I have for a long time, it just adds a lot. It retcons a few things, maybe not the things that people are freaking out about if you're paying really close attention, but it's like a net good, and it's a good show on its own as well. If you didn't know anything about Fallout, if you had no investment, if you don't care about games, it's just a good show, and you would learn a lot about the world even in just this one viewing of a season, and it's probably going to bring some interest to the games. Speaking of that, the games are exploding. Their player counts have jumped up a ton. It's a real shame there's no Fallout 5, which I'll talk about at the end of the video. But there is a Fallout 4 next gen version coming out in the next week or so. I believe it's on the 25th of April. They've been trying to market like Fallout 76 a bit, which, you know, with all the memes about that game, does seem like it's improved a lot. I've dabbled. I'm still not really into it. I still just want like the traditional kind of experience. But even Fallout 3 and New Vegas are getting big jumps as well. My game of choice to go back to has been Fallout 4. I played 3, I played New Vegas way back in the day. Oddly enough, my main experience with Fallout has always been on console. Back in the day, I had a PC that could probably play it. I just never did. So on Fallout 3 and New Vegas, I actually played, I think on PlayStation 3, if I remember correctly. And then 4, I played on Xbox One, I believe. I may have played 4 on PC. I just remember that game didn't run great at launch, and I didn't have a very good computer back then. But I did have an Xbox One, and it ran, it didn't look great, but it ran well on there. It was a little more optimized. And so jumping into 4 has been really interesting because what it's really had me reflecting on is actually Starfield. If you follow my channel, if you've been around, you'll know I love Starfield. I really enjoyed the experience of that game. I played 200 plus hours in the first like month of that game coming out. I really, really like it, and I still do to this day. I'm pretty highly anticipating the new DLC and all of that that's coming, but what's been interesting is I haven't played Starfield in a while because I'm waiting for the DLC, and I've been playing other stuff. And getting into Fallout 4 again, you can see where Starfield came from, right? In good and bad ways, probably. But you just, at the core, you're like, oh yeah, Starfield, it's obviously related to this. And then you start looking at the things that are missing or that improved a lot with Starfield, because they did. As I think my biggest bummer about Starfield is I really believe that the initial reaction to it was the most honest one. And even though I would never claim that the things that were said about it in the long run, as people kind of got over their honeymoon period. I still think the extreme negativity of the reaction after a few weeks of Starfield was kind of a circle jerk. You can disagree, that's fine. I'm not saying everyone has to love it. I still think the initial reactions to Starfield were the most honest, and then it kind of turned into, especially in the journalism, content creator side of things. But then I think that communities kind of followed suit, and it turned into like, it wasn't cool to like it, and that, we had to, tear down every part of it and act like the bad parts of the game, which Starfield has bad parts, supersede the really good parts of the game that there are plenty of. I would argue objectively, but that's not fair. But being hypocrite to a point, it is interesting playing 4 and like the things that are missing. There's two main things I feel after playing a decent amount of 4 again that I really missed, and the first one being probably a personal preference. There is something so satisfying about using the VATS system. This is a system that all the modern Fallouts have had, where Fallout 1 and 2 were turn-based games, and when they made 3 and all the games since then, they kind of tried, at least in my opinion, to recapture that turn-based combat feel by having this VATS system, which essentially doesn't stop time, but slows it down immensely and allows you, the player character, to target specific creatures or other humans or whatever, and even to the point where you can target specific parts of their body with different percentage levels of possible effectiveness. And then you have like an AP, like action points, and you can, depending on what weapon you're using, your build, all of that, you can pick to hit a target so many times. It's a very, very turn-based system in what is mostly a real-time game. Now, I would argue that a big part of the reason that system exists, especially in 2 and 3 in New Vegas, is because the gunplay in those games is abysmal. It's really, really bad, even on PC. It's not very satisfying. So the VAT system very much, I think, was supposed to kind of make up for that. Fallout 4 has okay gunplay. It feels more modern, but the VAT system is still really satisfying. And that's a system I wish so badly would have existed in Starfield. I understand Starfield isn't a Fallout game. I know that like the Elder Scrolls games don't have the VATs in them. But I don't care. I wish they would have figured out a way, because it's just so satisfying, at least in my opinion. But that's such a whatever thing, right? I think the bigger issue I have, and that I've noticed with Fallout 4 compared to Starfield, is I really wish Starfield didn't have like 1,500 planets and moons. I get what they were doing. I just really believe that like a dozen fully fleshed out, like hand-built planets, maybe still having some of the resource gathering planets and moons that you could visit if you wanted, I guess, would have been fine. But there's something about Fallout 4 and really all the Fallout modern games is that you never realized that the maps are like fairly small. They aren't very big, and they're so dense. There's points of interest every, I think from any point of interest, you can go 30 seconds in almost any cardinal direction and run into something else, right? There's a topic about that. I think it's from first-person shooters, where there's some devs who have talked about like you need to have something new happen, something of interest every 30 seconds. And Fallout 4 and Vegas and 3 did a really good job of that by having these large for the time maps, but really fairly condensed maps that were just so full of things and handcrafted things. And they weren't all combat encounters. You may run upon a environmental storytelling scene, or you may run upon like a hidden cache of weapons and loot and money and stuff like that. But there's just always stuff happening, or you'd run into random people and get random quests and or not random, they're handcrafted, but you know what I mean. And there's something about those Fallout games where that's such a intriguing part of playing, where Fallout very much, and it's actually mentioned in the TV show, you have a main quest, but it's so easy to get distracted. And I would argue that's the point of Fallout. That's the best part of Fallout, is when you're running to a main quest mission and you get distracted by some combat encounter you see that takes you down the line of side quests, or you see, a building that you've never gone into before. And you just don't get that with Starfield. You do a little bit. There are random encounters and things to find on the planets you go. The procedurally generated system they use, from what I've noticed, it seems that most of the planets have some handcrafted element to them. But the procedural generation do a lot of the heavy work, a lot of the specific work, right? And you get some of that stuff I've pointed out. There's like a voice comm that you can find, randomly on the planet. That's one of my favorite parts of Starfield, the voice acting, the writing. It's this really, just like really emotional voice comm you can listen to. And it's great. And it's on that, it's of the ilk of the Fallout games where you would run upon, voice comms or these little story moments or whatever. But in Starfield, you have to go through so many fast travel screens and so many loading screens, and they're so far and few between. Starfield has, especially space encounters, you run upon random ships and these captains of these other ships that either you need to board and meet them and do something for them, or you just have a conversation through your ships, and you get that feeling that I'm talking about. It's just so spread out, and it's so far and few between, and it's a thing that I've been feeling this way for a while, but I truly believe if Starfield would have just been a more condensed experience, I think a lot of the issues people have would probably still be there, but wouldn't feel as magnified. And if we just had even just a half dozen planets where you did most of the stuff, and then maybe some other ones where side missions, quests, all of that, it just seems like hopefully Starfield is the end of this era of big equals good, because I don't think it does. And I think that as games have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and tried to push the limits, have the most planets, have the most whatever, I think a lot of players are starting to be like, I'm good, but that's just kind of me. So this doesn't take away from Starfield for me. I still love that game, and I can't wait to probably do a fresh playthrough when the DLC comes out, because I kind of want to re-experience some of those things, knowing what I know after playing the game once. I also am really curious to what Bethesda is going to do in the long run. We know that the next Elder Scrolls game is their next game. I believe it's not even in full production yet. And then Fallout's the game after that, but who knows when that's going to happen. I do suspect that the next Elder Scrolls game and the Fallout game will probably come out quicker than people think. I really think Starfield was probably a big step for them to make systems and stuff that they're going to use to make Elder Scrolls and to make the next Fallout, to improve their creation engine. As much as I would love to see them ditch that engine entirely, I really don't think it's going to happen. So instead, I'm going to hope that they keep improving it like a lot and make it resemble a modern engine at all. But yeah, Elder Scrolls is probably a bit away. I've seen people calling out like, oh, let another studio, let Obsidian or someone else do Fallout 5. It just wouldn't be the same. Maybe it's going to be a mess. Maybe their next two games won't be 10 out of 10s that people think they should be. But I would rather have an 8 out of 10 that feels like a Bethesda game and has that heart to it that I do think Starfield has. And that's probably where Starfield lands score-wise for a lot of people, at least. Than a 10 out of 10 made by someone else that doesn't have the soul, because it won't be the real experience, right? It's probably a stupid thing to say, but I'm going to roll with it. So that's all I'm feeling. That show's great. Go check it out. Jump back in the Fallout if you can. Give Starfield another chance. It's a really great game, and I think it's only going to get better over the years. And hopefully we'll see more Bethesda games one day. If you like this video, hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel if you want more of this stuff. Leave a comment down below, even if it's just to say hello. Jump into and become a YouTube member if you really want to support this content, the podcast I do, the streams I supposedly do, but have been a little too busy for lately. I would really appreciate it. You can check out the Linktree link in the description of the video if you want to check out my other content and where you can follow me on social media and such. That's all I have for this one. So until next time.